Commander Jake Morrison stood by the large window of the space station. He looked down at the purple clouds of the gas giant planet below. The station made its usual humming sounds, but today something felt different. The air seemed thick with worry. Jake had worked on this station for 6 months now. His job was to help humans and aliens work together. Most days were normal, with meetings and paperwork. But today was not normal at all. The door opened and Ambassador Thex walked in. Thex was from a race called the Kalari. He stood 8 feet tall with blue scales covering his body. His 4 eyes blinked one after another. Jake had learned this meant bad news was coming. "Commander Morrison, we have a problem. It is about the Vexian babies." Thex spoke through a device that changed his clicking sounds into English words. Jake turned away from the window. His face stayed calm, but his heart started beating faster. The Vexians were the creatures that lived on the planet below. They were born as hunters. Even the babies were dangerous. They had sharp claws that could cut through metal. They moved faster than most creatures could see. "What kind of problem?" Jake asked. 3 baby Vexians are missing from their home area. We last saw them near where the humans live. We must find them now before someone gets hurt. Jake felt his stomach twist. Vexian babies might be young, but they were still deadly hunters. Their bodies knew how to fight from the day they were born. A scared baby could hurt people badly. 3 babies together could be even worse. "How long have they been gone?" Jake asked as he started walking toward the door. "Almost 4 hours. Our guards are looking all over the station. The babies are small. They can hide in the air vents. They could be anywhere. 4 hours was a long time. Long enough for scared babies to get into big trouble." Jake walked faster toward the human living area. If the babies had been seen near there, that was the best place to start looking. As they walked through the halls, they saw many search teams. A group of Kalari guards carried nets and sleep guns. 2 bug-like aliens called Chitauri looked at computer screens. They were trying to find the babies by their body heat. "Has anyone been hurt?" Jake asked. "One small injury. A worker surprised one of the babies in Hall 7. The baby scratched his arm before running away. It was not bad, but it shows the babies are scared and will fight back." They reached the human living area. It was a simple hallway with 12 rooms for the 5 humans who worked on the station. Jake's room was at the end. His name was on the door with a picture of Earth's flag. "I will watch the search from the control room. Please check your room and tell me if you see anything strange," Thex said. Jake nodded and walked to his door. He put his hand on the lock and it opened. He walked inside, thinking he might find claw marks on the walls or broken things. But his room looked normal. The small living space was clean. His desk had his computer and personal items on it. Everything was exactly where he left it this morning. Then he heard something. A soft sound came from his bedroom. It was quiet, like a low rumbling or purring noise. Jake stopped moving. His hand went to the emergency collar on his belt. He walked slowly to the bedroom door, trying not to make noise. The door was open just a little bit. Through the crack he could see part of his bed. He pushed the door open slowly. He held his breath. There on his bed, lying on his pillow and blanket, were 3 Vexian babies. They were sleeping. Their sharp claws were pulled back and hidden. Their scaly bodies moved up and down as they breathed. The biggest baby had its head on the smallest one. The middle baby was on its back with one paw moving like it was dreaming. Jake stood there, unable to believe what he saw. These were supposed to be scary hunters. They were born to kill, but right now they looked just like sleeping puppies. He slowly took out his collar. The device made a small sound when he turned it on. Morrison calling Ambassador Thex. He spoke very quietly. "Commander, did you find something?" Thex sounded worried. "I found the babies. They are in my room. In my bedroom." Jake stopped, still not believing it. "They are sleeping on my bed." There was a long quiet on the other end. When Thex spoke again, he sounded confused and surprised. "They are what?" "Sleeping on my bed. All 3 of them. That cannot be true. Vexian babies do not sleep near creatures they do not know. Their bodies would never let them do that. Are you sure they are not hurt or drugged?" Jake took a careful step closer to the bed. He watched the babies closely. They were breathing normal and deep. One of them made a small chirping sound while sleeping and moved closer to its brother or sister. There were no signs they were hurt. They did not look worried or sick. They looked fine. Healthy. Just sleeping. "We are coming right now. Do not go near them. Do not make fast moves. We will take care of this, I understand, Jake said, but he did not move away. He could not stop looking at them. These creatures were feared by everyone in the Space Coalition. People said they were born killers who only knew how to hunt, but right now they looked completely safe and peaceful. The smallest baby opened its mouth in a yawn. Jake could see many sharp teeth. Then it put its nose under its paw and kept sleeping. In just a few minutes, Jake heard feet in the hall outside. The door to his room opened and Thex came in. Behind him were guards and Dr. Kira Chen. Kira was another human on the station. She was a smart scientist who studied how alien animals behaved. She had learned about hunters from many different planets. Kira looked at the sleeping babies and her eyes went wide. Amazing. She said it so quietly it was almost a whisper. Thex walked into the room slowly. His guards came with him. They held their nets and sleep guns ready, but when they saw the babies, they seemed confused about what to do. This should not be possible. Thex spoke quietly. Vexian babies are built to see all unknown things as danger. They should be hiding, not sleeping out in the open, and they would never sleep on where a hunter sleeps. Maybe they do not see Commander Morrison as danger, Kira said. She pulled out a small scanner. Can I? Jake nodded. Kira moved closer to the bed. She held the scanner at a safe distance. It made a quiet humming sound as it checked the babies. Their hearts are beating normal. Their brains show they are in deep sleep. Their body temperature is right. There is no sign of drugs or injury or stress. Kira looked up at Jake with wonder in her eyes. They feel safe here, but why? A Kalari worker asked. What about this place would make Vexian babies feel safe? They come from a hard planet where staying alive means always being ready to fight. Kira walked slowly around the room. She looked at everything carefully. She stopped at Jake's desk and picked up an old jacket that was on his chair. She smelled it. Smell. Human smell. We are hunters too, Commander. Top hunters on Earth. Our bodies make chemicals and smells that other hunters can sense. But different from most hunters, humans also make strong family groups. We are hunters who work together. She pointed at the babies on the bed. I think they understood that. They smelled another hunter, yes, but also something else. Something that told them this was a safe place. A home. The smallest baby moved in its sleep and made a happy chirping sound. It pushed its face into the blanket and relaxed even more. This is amazing, Kira said as she took more readings. And completely new. We need to write this down. But first we need to think about how to move them back to their home without scaring them. One of the guards stepped forward with a net. But before he could get close, the biggest baby's eyes opened fast. Its eyes got big and it made a sharp hissing sound that made everyone stop moving. The baby's claws came out right away. They shined in the bedroom light. It put itself in front of its sleeping brother and sister. Its body was tight and ready to fight everyone back, Thex ordered. The guards moved toward the door. The baby's eyes looked around the room fast, trying to see what was dangerous. Then it looked at Jake, who had not moved at all. The baby stared at him for a long moment. Jake did not move. He kept breathing slow and his body relaxed. He had worked with dangerous animals before back on Earth. He knew that fast moves or angry actions would only make things worse. Slowly, the baby started to relax. Its claws went back in a little bit. It made a low chirping sound like it was asking a question. Jake spoke in a soft, calm voice. It is okay, little one. Nobody will hurt you. The baby turned its head to the side, thinking about him. Then, making everyone shocked, it pulled its claws all the way back in and lay back down on the bed. It curled around its brother and sister again. Kira let out a long breath. Commander Morrison, I think you just became their protector. The news about the sleeping babies moved through the space station very fast. In 1 hour, Jake's room became the center of big science interest. Dr. Kira Chen set up watching equipment in the bedroom. She put it carefully so she could see the babies without bothering them. Ambassador Thex called an emergency meeting with all the station leaders to talk about what this meant. Jake sat in his own living room. Around him were scientists who study aliens, people who study behavior, and coalition officials. They all tried to understand what happened. What this means is very big, said Dr. Ven, a Chitauri scientist whose many eyes shined with excitement. In all our years watching the Vexians, we never saw this kind of behavior. Babies just do not make friends with other kinds of creatures. Their bodies tell them not to do it to stay alive. Kira showed computer pictures of the baby's health signs from the past few hours. Look at this information. Their stress chemicals are at normal levels. Their brain patterns show deep, good sleep. This is not just accepting that the human is here. This is looking for comfort. But why Commander Morrison? A Kalari worker asked. We have other humans on the station. Why did the babies pick his room? Jake felt uncomfortable. He was not used to so many people watching and asking about him. I do not know. I never touched the babies before today. I watched them in their home from far away, but that is all. Kira touched her computer pad and brought up security videos. Let me look at the watching records. Commander, when did you last go to the Vexian home area? 3 days ago. I spent about 1 hour there watching the adults hunt. It is part of my job to learn about all the creatures we study. The video played on the computer picture. It showed Jake standing at the watching window, looking at the Vexian adults with quiet interest. But in the corner of the picture, hard to see, were the 3 babies. They were not hunting with their parents. They were watching Jake. There, Kira said, pointing at the babies. They were watching you. Look at how their bodies look. They are not showing any scared or angry positions. They are curious. The video kept playing. Jake stayed still at the window for a long time, just watching. At one point, he smiled a little when one of the adult Vexians made a really good jump. The babies seemed to see that smile. Their heads turned to the side at the same time. Very interesting. Dr. Venn said. They read your feelings. Vexian babies are very good at understanding the feelings of their family members. They use it to know if things are safe. Your calm way of being there, your real interest without anger. It told them something, so they came looking for him, Thex said slowly. His color changed to thinking blue-green. When they got out of their home, they followed his smell to his room. They looked for him on purpose. That is exactly what I think happened, Kira said. And when they found his room, they found something else too. Look at these readings. She showed heat pictures of Jake's bedroom. The air temperature in your room is warmer than most of the station. The blankets on your bed hold heat. The closed space of the bedroom makes things feel safe. To the babies, it probably felt like a perfect home. This changes everything, Dr. Venn said. We have been watching the Vexians for years, treating them like things to look at from far away. But if they can make friends with other hunter creatures, if they can know and answer to feelings from different kinds of creatures, then they are much more social and smart than we ever thought. A soft chirping sound came from the bedroom. Through the open door, Jake could see one of the babies moving. It stretched its small body, making its back arch. Then it lay back down against its brother and sister. The question now is, what do we do? Thex said. The babies need to go back to their home at some point. Their parents will be worried about them being gone so long. Actually, Kira said, showing more information. I have been watching the adult Vexians too. Their stress levels are high, yes, but not very bad. It is almost like they know their babies are safe somewhere, which makes sense when we think about what we learned about how well they can understand things. Are you saying we should leave the babies here? The Kalari worker asked. He sounded shocked. Not forever, Kira said. But making them go back right now when they are this comfortable could be bad for them. It might break the trust they showed. Instead, I think we should let them wake up when they are ready. Then see if Commander Morrison can lead them back to their home. If they made friends with him, they might follow him without fighting. Everyone looked at Jake. He felt them all expecting things from him. But he also felt like he needed to take care of the sleeping babies in his bedroom. I will do whatever is best for them, he said simply. Good, Thex said. Dr. Chen, keep watching them. Commander Morrison, you will stay in your room for now. We will meet again when the babies wake up and see what to do then. The meeting ended and people left. Jake was alone with Kira and her watching equipment. She wrote notes on her computer pad and sometimes looked at the readings from the bedroom. This is amazing, you know, she said quietly. What is happening here? Humans have always been good at making friends with other kinds of creatures. Dogs, cats, horses, even wild animals sometimes. But those were earth animals, shaped by millions of years of living near us. These babies come from a completely different planet with no shared history, and still they knew something about you, something that told them you were safe. Jake looked toward the bedroom where the babies kept sleeping peacefully. I think maybe it is because we understand what it means to be both hunter and protector. Humans have always had both sides. We hunt, but we also take care of our family. Maybe that is what they felt, Kira smiled. That is a very human way to think, Commander. And maybe that is exactly right. The babies slept for 3 more hours. Jake worked quietly in his living room. Sometimes he checked on them through the bedroom door. Kira sat in a comfortable chair in the corner, watching her equipment and writing lots of notes. The station's excitement had become a quiet waiting. The smallest baby woke up first. Jake saw movement on Kira's watching screen. The little creature lifted its head and blinked sleepy eyes. It opened its mouth wide, showing all those sharp teeth. Then it looked around the room with curious eyes. "It is awake," Kira whispered. Her fingers moved fast on her computer pad to write down everything. The small baby stood up carefully, trying not to bother its sleeping brother and sister. It stretched with its back going up and its tail going out. Then it walked to the edge of the bed and looked down at the floor like it was thinking about jumping. Jake slowly stood up from his desk, moving with slow calm. The baby's head turned fast toward the sound. Its eyes looked at him. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then the baby made a soft chirping sound that seemed like a question. It took a small step forward on the bed, then another. Jake got down on one knee, making himself less big and scary. He held out his hand with his palm up, keeping it still. It was the same thing he did many times with nervous dogs and cats back on Earth. Body language that all creatures understand to mean no danger. The baby turned its head to the side, looking at his hand. Then, being very brave, it jumped down from the bed and came toward him. It moved with the natural, smooth way of a hunter. Each step was careful and planned. When it got to Jake's hand, it stopped. Then it pushed its nose against his hand palm, smelling carefully. Its whiskers tickled his skin. Jake stayed perfectly still, letting the baby look at him and smell him without rushing. After a moment, the baby made a happy chirping sound and rubbed its head against Jake's hand. It was such a normal thing, so much like how a cat acts, that Jake could not help smiling. "Can I touch you, little one?" he asked softly. He knew the baby could not understand his words, but hoped his voice would show what he meant. The baby chirped again and pushed against his hand. Jake gently petted its head, feeling the smooth scales change to soft fur along its neck. The baby's eyes closed halfway and it started to make that low purring sound he heard before. "Amazing," Kira said quietly from her corner. "Jake, it is showing complete trust. This behavior usually takes months to happen, even between babies and their own parents." Movement from the bed made them look. The other two babies had woken up and were watching what was happening with interest. The biggest one jumped down first. It came closer more carefully than the small one, but still without any signs of wanting to fight. Jake stayed on his knees, keeping his movements slow and easy to see. The big baby walked around him once, checking him out. Then it bumped its head against his shoulder. The third baby, feeling brave because of what its brother and sister did, climbed down from the bed fast and came to them. In a few moments, Jake had 3 purring Vexian babies around him, all wanting him to pay attention to them. The small one had climbed part way up his back to sit on his shoulder. The middle one lay down on his feet, making it impossible to walk. The big one sat next to him with its head on his knee. Jake laughed and sat down on the floor, letting the babies climb all over him. They were already bigger than they were. They left his room together, this strange group. The station halls, usually full of busy people, had been cleared to give them a straight path to the Vexian home area. But scientists and workers stood along the walls at a respectful distance. They watched in quiet amazement as Commander Jake Morrison walked through the station with 3 Vexian babies following him like loyal pets. The babies showed no fear of the crowd. They stayed close to Jake, sometimes chirping to each other, but their attention stayed on him. When they got to the home area entrance, Jake stopped. Through the clear wall, he could see the adult Vexians. They had seen the babies arrive and were moving toward the entrance quickly. The babies saw their parents and their chirps became more excited. But they did not run forward right away. Instead, they looked up at Jake like they were asking if it was okay. "It is okay," he said softly, getting down on one knee one more time. "Go on. Your family is waiting." The small baby pushed against his hand one last time, purring. The middle one rubbed its head on his shoulder. The big one made a low, almost sad sound. Then the home door opened and the babies ran through. Their parents right away surrounded them, checking them over with clear worry. But the adult Vexians also did something no one expected. They turned toward Jake, who still was on his knees just outside the home entrance, and made a series of low, rumbling sounds. "They are thanking you," Kira said, standing next to him now. "They know you protected their young. Jake, you just made friendly relations with one of the most dangerous hunter creatures in the known galaxy, and you did it by being kind to their children." Jake stood slowly, watching as the Vexian family went deeper into their home. The babies kept looking back. Their chirps carried through the wall. "Very human of you, Commander," Kira added with a smile. The days after the babies returned home were full of activity. Scientists came from all over the coalition to study what happened. The simple act of 3 Vexian babies sleeping on a human bed had started a revolution in how people thought about alien creatures. Jake found himself giving talks and answering questions almost every day. Dr. Chen presented her findings to groups of scientists who could not believe what they were hearing. The data was clear but hard to accept. Vexian babies, born to be alone and defensive, had made a real friendship with a human. But the most interesting changes happened at the Vexian home area. The adult Vexians, who before would attack anyone who came too close, now allowed researchers to come nearer. They seemed to understand that the humans had protected their young. The change in their behavior was incredible. Jake visited the home every day. The babies would run to the clear wall when they saw him coming. They would chirp and jump excitedly. The adults watched these meetings with calm acceptance. They had taken Jake into their group in a way that no other species member had ever achieved. 1 week after the babies went home, Ambassador Thex called Jake to his office. The Kalari diplomat looked more excited than Jake had ever seen him. His scales were a bright, happy blue. "Commander Morrison, I have news. The Coalition Council wants to talk about what happened here. They want to create a new program based on what you did." Jake sat down in the chair across from Thex's desk. "A program?" "Yes. We have been trying to talk with hunter species for many years with little success. Most of our tries ended in failure or even violence, but you showed us a different way. A human way. The Council wants to test if other humans can do the same thing with other hunter species." Thex brought up pictures on his computer, showing different alien creatures. "These are some of the species we have not been able to make friends with. They are all top hunters on their home planets. All have attacked or avoided our attempts to talk with them. But maybe, with humans leading the effort, we could change that." Jake looked at the pictures. Each creature looked dangerous in its own way. Sharp teeth, strong claws, powerful bodies built for hunting. But he also saw something else. Intelligence in their eyes, curiosity, maybe even loneliness. "What would this program look like?" he asked. "We would call it the Human Contact Team. Humans with special training would work as first meeting specialists for hunter species. They would use what you did as a base, changing it for each different situation. Dr. Chen would lead the science part. But we need someone to lead the field work, someone who has already shown they can do this." Thex looked at Jake with his 4 eyes. "We want you to lead the team, Commander. Will you do it?" Jake thought about the offer. It would be dangerous work. Not every meeting would go as well as it did with the Vexian babies. Some species might not respond to human presence the way the Vexians did. There could be injuries or worse. But he also thought about the babies. About how they had trusted him completely. About how that trust had opened doors that had been closed for years. If humans could do that for other species, if they could build bridges where none existed before, it would be worth the risk. "Yes, I will do it," Jake said. "Good." Thex's color brightened even more. "We will start planning right away. The Council wants to move quickly on this. There's a lot of interest from many worlds." Over the next few days, Jake worked with Thex and Kira to plan the new program. They looked at which species should be contacted first. They talked about what kind of training human team members would need. They studied everything that had happened with the Vexian babies, trying to understand exactly what made it work. What humans have that most species do not, Kira explained in one planning meeting, is something we call pack bonding. Humans on Earth made friends with wolves thousands of years ago. Those wolves became dogs. We also made friends with cats, horses, birds, and many other animals. Some of these animals were hunters like us. Some were prey animals. It did not matter. Humans can form emotional connections across species lines better than almost any other known creature. She showed brain scans of humans and various alien species. "Look at this. When humans see baby animals, even from other species, their brains light up in the same areas that light up when they see human babies. This response is automatic. It happens before they even think about it. Most other species do not have this reaction. They see other species as either food, threats, or things to ignore." "So humans are built to care about other species?" asked one of the Kalari scientists in the meeting. "In a way, yes," Kira said. "Evolution made humans to be social hunters who work in groups. But our ability to make groups is not limited to other humans. We extend it to other creatures almost without trying. That is why humans keep pets, why we name wild animals and worry about endangered species, why Commander Morrison's first reaction to seeing scared babies was to want to protect them, even though those babies could have killed him. This information is valuable, Thex said, but can we teach it? Can we train humans to use this ability on purpose? We do not have to teach the basic ability. It is already there, Kira replied. What we need to teach is how to read alien body language, how to stay calm in dangerous situations, and how to let that natural bonding happen safely. Commander Morrison did all of this by feeling what was right. With training, other humans can do it too. While the planning continued, Jake kept visiting the Vexian home. The babies were growing fast. Each day they were a little bigger, a little stronger. But their connection with Jake did not change. If anything, it got stronger. The home workers had made a special door that let Jake go into the home area safely. It was something that had never been done before. No other species member had ever been allowed inside the Vexian home while the Vexians were there. The first time Jake used the door, everyone watched nervously. The adult Vexians could easily kill him if they wanted to. But when Jake stepped through, the babies ran to him immediately. They jumped around him, purring and chirping happily. The adults watched from a short distance. They did not stop their young from being close to Jake. After a few minutes, the mother Vexian came closer. She was huge, much bigger than Jake, with scales that shined like dark metal. She could kill him with one swipe of her claws. Jake knew this. Everyone watching knew this, but Jake did not show fear. He stood still, keeping his body language calm and open. The mother walked around him slowly, smelling him, checking him out. The babies watched, seeming to understand that something important was happening. Then the mother did something amazing. She lowered her head and pushed it gently against Jake's chest. It was the same gesture the babies had done, a sign of trust and acceptance. Jake slowly raised his hand and placed it on her head. Her scales were warm under his palm. She made a low rumbling sound, not threatening but almost peaceful. Then she stepped back and returned to her mate. The father Vexian watched all of this. He was even bigger than the mother, with battle scars across his body. He stared at Jake for a long moment. Then he made a short huffing sound and turned away. It was not hostile. It was acceptance. Outside the home, the watching scientists were recording everything. Kira's hands shook as she wrote notes. "This is incredible," she whispered. "The whole family has accepted him. Not just tolerating him, but actually accepting him as a group member. This has never happened before. Never." Jake spent an hour in the home that day. He played with the babies, who were becoming less like babies every day. 2 weeks after the babies went home, a coalition ship arrived at the station. It was much bigger than the research station, with flags from dozens of different worlds. High officials from all over the galaxy had come to see what everyone was calling the Morrison event. Jake found himself in a large meeting room with leaders from many species. They all wanted to know about the Vexian babies. They wanted to understand how a human had done what their best scientists could not do in years of trying. High Chancellor Vex, a Kalari with silver scales, spoke first. "Commander Morrison, what you did has opened doors we never thought existed. We watched the Vexians for 12 years. In that time, we learned less than what we learned in 3 hours watching you with their young." Jake felt uncomfortable with all the attention. "I did not do anything special, Chancellor. I just treated them like any scared young creatures. That is exactly what makes it special," Dr. Chen said. She had been asked to show her findings. Most species in the coalition treat hunters with fear or cold distance. Humans are different. You understood without thinking that those babies needed safety and comfort, no matter how dangerous they might become later. Ambassador Thex stood to talk to everyone. "We have made regular contact with the Vexian family since then. The adults now let our researchers come closer, something that was impossible before. They seem to know we protected their young. Commander Morrison visits the home every day. The babies have a lasting friendship with him. Can this last?" asked a Chaitari council member. "Can we build a whole program around one human's friendship with 3 babies?" Dr. Chen smiled. "We do not have to. We tested this with other humans and other hunter species on the station. The results are amazing. Humans have successfully made positive contact with every aggressive species we study. It seems our history as social hunters gives us a special advantage in talking with other species." She showed more information. Look at these patterns. Humans naturally use body language that other hunters see as not dangerous. Our voice patterns show emotions that work across species, and most important, we have a natural drive to make family groups that goes beyond our own species. It is why humans on Earth made wolves into dogs, made friends with horses, and even kept big hunting cats as friends. This is all interesting, the High Chancellor said. But what can we do with this? How does this change how we first meet hunter species? Thex showed a new picture, a plan for a special group in the coalition. We want to create a human contact corps. Trained humans would be sent as first meeting specialists just for hunter species. They would use what Commander Morrison did as a base, changing it for each different situation. There are 17 known hunter species in coalition space that we could not make friends with. He continued. With this new way, we believe we can change that, and outside our borders there are many more species waiting to be found. Having humans lead these efforts could stop fights and build bridges where none were before. The council room filled with talking. Jake listened to different officials argue about the good and bad parts of the plan. It felt strange to think that something as simple as being kind to scared babies had led to this moment. Commander Morrison, the High Chancellor said, getting his attention. Would you lead this corps? Would you train others in what you learned? Jake thought about the babies, about how they trusted him without any doubt. He thought about all the other species out there, dangerous and misunderstood, waiting for someone to see past their claws and teeth to the thinking beings they really were. Yes, Chancellor. I would be honored. The decision was made fast after that. The Human Contact Corps would be created. Jake would be its first leader. They would start finding humans to join right away. They wanted people who knew about animal behavior, mind study, and diplomacy. As the meeting ended, Dr. Chen came to Jake. You know this will change everything, right? Not just for the coalition, but for how humans are seen all through the galaxy. I know, Jake said. It is a big responsibility, but right for you, she replied. Humans have always been good at making friends in strange places. It is time the rest of the galaxy learned that about us. The next few weeks were very busy. Jake worked with Thex and Kira to build the Human Contact Corps from nothing. They wrote training programs. They looked at applications from humans all over coalition space who wanted to join. They planned first contact missions with different hunter species. But through all of this, Jake never missed his daily visits to the Vexian home. The babies were growing incredibly fast. They were now half the size of their parents, with longer claws and stronger muscles. But their bond with Jake stayed strong. One evening, Jake entered the home to find the family doing something new. The father was teaching the young ones how to hunt. He had brought in a mechanical prey animal that the scientists used for training. The babies were learning how to work together to catch it. Jake watched from a safe distance. The babies moved with growing skill and confidence. The smallest one, who had once climbed on Jake's shoulder, now moved like a true hunter. The middle one showed clever thinking, trying to trick the mechanical prey. The biggest one used strength and speed together. The father noticed Jake watching. He made a low sound, almost like he was asking Jake to join. Jake understood. This was not just observation. This was an invitation to participate in a sacred family activity. Jake moved forward carefully. He did not have claws or the speed of a Vexian, but he understood hunting. Humans were hunters too. He watched the mechanical prey's movements, looking for patterns. When he saw his chance, he moved to cut off its escape path. The babies saw what he was doing. Without words, they adjusted their own positions. It became a real hunt, with human and Vexians working together. The smallest one went high. The middle one went wide. The biggest one stayed ready to attack, and Jake blocked the escape. When they caught the mechanical prey together, the father made a sound of approval. The mother joined in. The babies chirped and jumped excitedly. They had done it as a family, with Jake as a full member of the hunting group. Outside the home, Kira watched with tears in her eyes. Do you see what just happened? She asked the other scientists. They hunted together, as equals, as family. This is not just tolerance or friendship anymore. This is true integration. A human has become part of a Vexian pride. The recordings of that hunt went all through the coalition. It became proof that what happened with the sleeping babies was not a one-time thing. It was real, lasting, and it could be repeated. Applications to join the Human Contact Corps increased by hundreds after that video was released. Humans from all over wanted to be part of this new mission. They wanted to help build bridges between species. They wanted to show that humans had something special to offer the galaxy. Jake interviewed many of the applicants himself. He looked for certain qualities. Not just bravery, though that was important. Not just knowledge of animals, though that helped. What he really looked for was empathy. The ability to see another creature as a thinking, feeling being worth understanding and protecting. One applicant was a woman named Kate Phillips. She had worked with big cats on Earth for 20 years. When Jake asked her why she wanted to join, she said something that stayed with him. Because every creature, no matter how dangerous, has a story. They have reasons for being how they are. They have fears and hopes and families they want to protect. If we can learn their stories, if we can show them we understand, then maybe we can be friends. And the galaxy needs more friends. Kate became one of the first members of the Human Contact Corps. Others followed. A man named Carlos Rivera, who had studied wolf behavior. A woman named Yuki Tanaka, who had worked with rescued hunting birds. A man named Omar Hassan, who had helped protect lions in Africa. Each of them brought different skills and experiences. But they all shared that basic human quality, the ability to care about creatures different from themselves. The training program Jake designed was tough but important. The new Corps members learned alien body language. They practiced staying calm in scary situations. They studied the history and culture of different hunter species. But most important, they learned to trust their instincts. The same instincts that had guided Jake in his first meeting with the Vexian babies. 6 weeks after the program started, they were ready for their first real mission. A hunter species called the Draxi had been avoiding contact with the Coalition for 5 years. They lived on an ice world on the edge of Coalition space. Every attempt to talk with them had ended in failure or violence. But the Coalition had learned that the Draxi had young ones who would soon need medical help. A sickness was spreading through their population. Without help, many of the young ones would die. But the adult Draxi would not let anyone near their territory. This is where you come in, Thex explained in the mission briefing. The Draxi are proud hunters. They see offers of help as signs of weakness. But they also value their young above everything. If you can make contact with the young ones, show them you mean no harm, the adults might let us help. Jake looked at his team. Kate, Carlos, Yuki, Omar. They looked nervous but determined. This was what they had trained for. We will do it, Jake said. We will show them what humans can do. Before they left for the mission, Jake made one last visit to the Vexian home. The babies, now almost full-grown, where the Draxi world was covered in ice and snow. The wind howled across frozen plains that stretched as far as anyone could see. The Human Contact Corps ship landed on a safe area far from the main Draxi territory. They did not want to seem threatening by coming too close. Jake and his team wore special suits to protect them from the cold. They carried no weapons, only medical supplies and food. They had scanners to help them find the Draxi young ones, but Jake had learned that sometimes the best tool was just patience and an open heart. The Draxi are watching us, Kate said quietly, checking her scanner. 3 adults about 200 meters away. They are not coming closer, but they are definitely watching. Good, Jake said. That means they are curious. Let them watch. Let them see we are not a threat. The team set up a small camp. They moved slowly and made no sudden actions. They talked in quiet voices. Everything they did was designed to show calm and peace. It was the same approach Jake had used with the Vexian babies, just on a bigger scale. Hours passed. The Draxi adults kept their distance but never left. Jake could see them through his sight enhancer. They were beautiful creatures with thick white fur and powerful bodies built for the ice and cold. Their eyes were bright blue, watching everything with sharp intelligence. As the local sun started to set, Carlos picked up something on his scanner. Movement from a different direction. Smaller heat signatures, the young ones, he whispered. Jake looked where Carlos pointed. In the growing shadows, he could see small shapes moving. Draxi young ones, maybe 5 or 6 of them, were watching the humans from behind ice formations. They were curious, just like the Vexian babies had been. Nobody move, Jake said. Let them come to us if they want to. The team stayed still. Jake sat down on the ice, making himself small and less scary. The others did the same. They waited. One of the young Draxi was braver than the others. It crept closer, step by careful step. Jake could see it was sick. Its fur was not as bright as it should be. Its movements were slow and tired. This was one of the young ones the Coalition wanted to help. The young Draxi stopped about 10 meters away. It made a soft sound, almost like a question. Jake responded with a soft sound of his own, keeping his voice gentle and calm. Slowly, Jake reached into his pack and pulled out a piece of food. The scientist had told them what Draxi ate. He held the food in his open palm, not reaching toward the young one, just offering. The young Draxi's nose twitched. It took another step closer, then another. The adult Draxi, watching from the distance, made warning sounds, but they did not attack. They were letting the young one decide. The young Draxi came right up to Jake. It sniffed his hand carefully, then took the food. Its bright blue eyes looked into Jake's eyes. For a moment, there was understanding between them. This creature knew Jake meant no harm. The other young Draxi saw this and became braver. They came out from hiding and approached the humans. Kate, Carlos, Yuki, and Omar each offered food and kind words. The young ones accepted both. One of the young ones, smaller than the others, collapsed suddenly. It was very sick. Kate moved forward carefully and scanned it with her medical device. The readings were bad. Without treatment soon, this young one would not survive. Jake looked toward the adult Draxi. They had seen their young one fall. They were making distressed sounds, but they still kept their distance, torn between their pride and their fear for their child. Jake made a decision. He stood slowly and picked up the sick young Draxi. It was heavy, but he held it carefully against his chest, trying to give it warmth. Then he walked toward the adult Draxi commander. Be careful. Thex's voice came through his communication device. They might see that as a threat or they might see it as help, Jake replied. He walked slowly toward the adult Draxi. His team stayed behind with the other young ones. Jake carried the sick child carefully, speaking soft words the whole time. He knew the adults could not understand his language, but they would understand his tone, his intention. When he got about 20 meters from the adults, he stopped. He carefully knelt down and placed the sick young one on the ice. Then he backed away slowly, showing he was not trying to keep the child. But he also took out a medical injector from his pack. He placed it on the ice near the young one. Then he backed away more. The adult Draxi watched all of this carefully. The biggest one, probably the pack leader, came forward slowly. It checked the young one, making worried sounds. Then it looked at the medical injector. Then at Jake. Jake held up his own injector and showed the adult how to use it. He pretended to inject himself, going through the motions carefully. The adult Draxi watched closely. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the adult Draxi picked up the injector with surprising gentleness. It looked at the device, then at its sick young one, then back at Jake. Jake nodded encouragingly. The adult used the injector on the young one, copying exactly what Jake had shown. The medicine went into the young Draxi's body. Within minutes, the young one's breathing became easier. Color started returning to its fur. The adult Draxi made a sound that could only be relief. It looked at Jake with something that might have been gratitude. Then it made a different sound, calling to the other adults. The other adult Draxi came forward. They surrounded their young one, checking it over. Then, together, they all looked at Jake. The pack leader made a gesture with its head, almost like a bow. Then it turned and led the group away, carrying the now recovering young one. But before they disappeared into the ice formations, the leader looked back once more at Jake. It was a look of understanding, of beginning trust. Jake returned to his team. They were all smiling, even though some had tears in their eyes. You did it, Kate said. You showed them we are here to help, not hurt. We did it, Jake corrected. This was a team effort. Over the next few days, the Draxi came back. They brought more sick young ones. The Human Contact Corps team treated each one, always showing respect and patience. The adult Draxi watched and learned. Slowly, the wall between the two species began to break down. By the end of the week, the Draxi pack leader approached the human camp alone. It carried something in its mouth. When it reached Jake, it dropped the object at his feet. It was a carved piece of ice shaped like a Draxi young one. A gift. Jake picked up the carving carefully. It was beautiful and clearly took time to make. He bowed to the pack leader, showing the same respect he had been shown. The pack leader made a sound that the translation device rendered as one word. Friend. Jake felt his heart swell. Friend, he repeated. News of the successful Draxi contact spread through the coalition, even faster than the Vexian story had. It proved that what Jake did was not a one-time thing. It was a method, a way of approaching dangerous species that worked. The Human Contact Corps became one of the most important parts of the coalition. Humans were sent to world after world, meeting species that had been thought impossible to contact, and time after time they succeeded. Not always easily, not always without problems, but they succeeded. 3 months after the Draxi mission, Jake returned to the research station. He had been traveling constantly, training new team members and leading missions, but he never forgot his first family, the Vexians. When he entered the Vexian home, the 3 young ones, now fully grown adults themselves, rushed to greet him. They were huge now, as big as their parents, with all the deadly power of their species. But when they reached Jake, they acted like the babies they had once been, purring, chirping, trying to climb on him even though they were far too big for that now. Jake laughed and petted them, speaking soft words. "I missed you too. All of you." The mother and father Vexian came forward. They touched their heads to Jake's chest, the gesture that meant family. Then the father made a sound Jake had not heard before. The translation device struggled with it, but finally gave an interpretation. Pride leader, teacher, family, Jake understood. He was not just accepted by this family anymore. He had become a leader in his own right, someone who taught others how to bridge the gaps between species, someone who had earned the respect of one of the galaxy's most fearsome hunter species. That evening, Jake sat with Kira in the observation area outside the home. They watched the Vexian family settle down for the night, the 3 young adults curled up with their parents in a peaceful pile. "Do you ever think about how it all started?" Kira asked. 3 scared babies looking for a safe place to sleep. "And now look what it has become." Jake nodded. "I think about it all the time. If I had reacted differently that day, if I had been scared or angry, none of this would have happened. The Human Contact Corps would not exist. The Draxi would still be isolated and losing their young. Dozens of other species would still be alone and afraid. But you were not scared or angry," Kira said. "You were kind. That is the human difference. We can be the strongest, most advanced species in the galaxy, but what really makes us special is our ability to care about others, even when they are different from us." Jake thought about all the species he had met in the past months. The Draxi with their fierce pride, the Keltari with their complex social structures, the Xenos with their hive minds, all of them different, all of them dangerous in their own ways, but all of them capable of friendship when approached with respect and understanding. We still heeded him with their usual exc.